Hi everyone, and welcome back to Mom Life on the Daily. Today I want to go over all the books I read in January. I read 10 books. That's the most books that I've ever read in 1 month. And most of them were either library books, and I think I had 3 that were audiobooks, so I don't have those to show you, but I will pop a little picture up so you can see the title and the book cover. Okay, so the first book I read was, I guess this isn't really in order of the first book I read. This is in order of the stars that I gave the book. So the first, my number 1 book for January was Pretty Girls by Karin, and I did listen to that on audiobook, and I gave it 4.5 stars. It was very intense. I can't say too much about it. It's about some pretty girls, and there's a guy that kills girls. And so they have to try to find out who the killer is, basically. It did take some twists and turns, but I really enjoyed listening to it. And it was like a 20-hour long book, I think, but I finished it in 2 days because it was amazing. So 4.5 stars. That was Pretty Girls by Karin. Let me look here because I have one that I guess I didn't put a rating down for. Oh, it was also an audiobook, but let's go with my 4-star books. So, Someone We Know by Shari Lapena. I believe that's how you say her last name. That one was a pretty good book. I know I did a review on that earlier, so I won't talk too much about it, and I don't really remember a lot about it because it was like the first book I read. But I gave that one a 4 stars. And then that was a library book, so like I said, I'll pop pictures up for the books I don't have. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This is the first time I've read that book, and it was not at all what I was expecting it to be. I truly loved it, and I can't wait for the Testaments. I've heard it's not based on the same people though, so I'll be interested. But basically, if you haven't heard of The Handmaid's Tale, which you probably have, I've never watched anything about it. I've never read it before, so to me it was very different. But it's basically about a society that was taken over and is now controlled, and the women are very oppressed. And I don't want to give any more details. You by Carolyn Kepnes. I don't know how to say any of these last names. I read it before I watched it, and I'm glad I did because while I did watch the whole first season, the book was way better, and what I had imagined in my head was way better than the way it was filmed or shown on the Netflix series. However, I did give it a 4 stars because it kept me reading, and it kept me reading quickly. There were things that I did not expect to happen, for sure. It's basically about a stalker. He stalks this girl that he becomes obsessed with, and he kills some people. So there's a lot of sexual things that happen in this book, so if that's not your thing, then this book is not for you. Okay. The next 4-star book is The Nanny by Gilly MacMillan. I actually say Gilly. I don't know which one is right. But my dog's name's Gilly, so that's why I say that. Anyway, this was I have a book club called Wines and Spines. That's some of my friends. We have like a Facebook group, and it's like our little book club, and we picked The Nanny for January. I enjoyed it. It was weird for me because I've never read a book in sections. Normally I just like to read the whole thing, but we had decided once a week we would have a book discussion. Sorry, my baby's sleeping on the couch. So I feel like I didn't get the full scope of the story because it was broken down like that. However, I enjoyed it. There were twists and turns. People were not who I thought they were. It was good, and I definitely suggest it. I think 3.5 was the average rating so far for the book club. That was our January book. And then 3.5 stars. I actually do have this book. This was my first book by Brenda Novak, and she has a whole Facebook group club thing, and a lot of people love her books, and I really did think it was a really good book. This one is about an ex-wife and son were murdered, and he thinks that her husband after him is the one that did it, and he tries to hunt him down and stalk him. I didn't really tell you what the nanny was about. Basically, the nanny was about a nanny and a rich family, and they killed the nanny, dumped her in a lake, but they believe that she's now back. They thought she just, like, some people thought she disappeared, some people thought they killed her, and she's now back. And everyone is like, how did she come back? How is this possible? So yeah, that's that. And you'll find out. You'll find out. It's good. Okay, so The Perfect Murder, like I said, was 3.5 stars. And then I listened to Elevation by Stephen King on audiobook. It was not what I expected. It was awesome. It's basically about a guy that keeps losing weight. He's not appearing to lose weight, but he is losing weight, and everyone's trying to figure out what's happening. But he's actually like keeping it from some people, but there are people that he talks to about it. He's losing weight. He doesn't know why. He does figure it out. And it's kind of sad, but crazy all at the same time, and I really loved it. But I did give that a 3.5 stars. Okay, then one more audiobook I read was, I guess I read 4 audiobooks. In Defense of Food. And I didn't write down who the author of that was, but I enjoyed it. It was basically about food in America and what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat and why you should eat this and why you shouldn't listen to these people and blah, 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 blah. But I enjoyed it. It was a pretty good read. Okay. This one I did not put a star rating on, I guess, because it was the last one I read at the very last day of January, and it was an audiobook. And Then You Were Gone, R.J. Jacobs. I actually did enjoy it, and it was a pretty fast listen. And it was not what I was expecting. It was kind of predictable. It's basically about a couple. They go out on a boat, and her boyfriend disappears, and people say that he drowned. She's not so certain, but they have a funeral for him. She gets herself in a whole heaping world of trouble, but then everything unravels, basically. They are about people that, she's a psychologist, a child psychologist, and he like worked in a lab on like a H1N1 vaccine or something like that, some sort of vaccine. And it was something that had actually killed her father in the past. So anyway, they get together, they go out on a boat, he disappears, everyone thinks he drowned, people think she did it, other people die, and you'll find out at the end what happens. But I would give that probably a 3.5 stars as well. Okay, my least favorite book of January, and it's one that I own. The Second Wife by Sheryl Browne. I think I did a review on this one. I hated this book. I think 2 stars is actually generous. But it was a fast read. I read it like in 2 days. But this is about a wife dies, and her friend moves in with her friend that died's husband and daughter. And then she finds out like everything that happened. I hated all the characters. I hated the book. I thought it was predictable. You could read it if you want. But those are the books that I read in January of 2020. 10 books, like I said. And Pretty Girls by Karin got me really into listening to fiction on audio. Because previously I could only listen to like nonfiction, like self-help books and stuff. But when I listened to that, it was really good. Now, there's one that I'm reading for February that I'm listening to on audio, and the narration is just not as good, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it or if I need to switch that to a paper book, because audiobooks definitely are all about the narration, how the narrator reads, their voice, their tone of voice, if they change voices through characters. That's what keeps you going. So I'm going to have to figure that one out. But did you read any of those books? And how many books did you read for January? That was the most I've ever read in 1 month, and I'm probably not going to beat it in February, but we'll see. So leave your comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.